Here we go, another episode of Canada on the Rocks. I am your host, Patty Kudir, local realtor with Sutton Group, Ottawa. And today we are joined by Joel Kawlski from Wilderness Tours. Ottawa has one of the most amazing sort of geography that we can rely on.
I agree. Yeah.
For outdoor activities in general.
It's true. And, even if your listeners aren't into the high intensity adventure, we've really gone out of our way to add lower intensity, more approachable adventures. Our lazy river tubing at Wilderness Tours has been gaining in popularity very quickly. We added one of those floating water parks on the bay right in front of our beachfront. We've got amazing hiking trails. We've got a mountain bike park now on site. So we've really diversified out of just the sort of adrenaline experience. And we have a really well-rounded outdoor, fun nature experience where there's a lot of different ways to enjoy it that aren't all just going to make your heart pound out of your chest.
And that's the thing too. You do want to feel alive every now and then. The one thing that I find with just adopting the wilderness and just being out there, it's where we belong.
Agreed.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And we've been sort of digressing and going away from it for the last couple of 100 years, maybe more, because we all got cushy jobs. We're wearing suits, all of that stuff. You got to get out there.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's refreshing, It's refreshing being out in the forest, on the water, literally refreshing, but it's something that the soul needs. And I think people come away feeling a little bit more leveled after, being outside, fresh air, wind in your face, water in your hair. Yeah, it does good stuff for you.
I've been a huge advocate for this. For me to feel alive in the summer, I have to have at least 1 to 2 days a week where I'm completely unplugged, no phone, get on the water, get on the sea-doo, get on the boat, just lay beside the water.
Yeah.
And then just feeling it, you know what I mean? Feeling that sort of air coming in, the sand on your feet, all of that. It's really what's good. Gets us back to our roots.
Agreed. Yes. Ottawa's a great city for getting outside. I mean, even just here in the city, great bike paths, single track paths, like Canada, that whole area has. I've got friends in that area who do large mountain bike tours in that zone. And then everything
you'll hit a black bear, but
it can happen.
Part of the experience.
It can happen, but even just outside this city is so many good opportunities. I mean, between us and the rafting, it's winter right now while we're talking. So the ski hills like Pakenham, Camp Fortune, Calabogie, there's many others. It's a great city to get outside.
And that's the thing. If you just focus on doing at least one activity a week outside, you'll find your level of happiness and the joy that it brings to your life is just unreal. And I'm saying it, and if you guys think I'm just making this shit up, try it.
Yeah,
I dare you to try it.
And one of your earlier stories was about when you got out there as a kid. With school, I've got some young kids. I'm obviously doing what I do. I'm focused on getting them outside all the time, and it's such a rewarding thing. Watching their growth, their confidence, doing things outside, whether it's going skiing, going paddling, getting out on the boat. Yeah, it's an important part of just life.
Also, we're going to touch a little bit on this. As a human, you need survival. You need to be able to get out there and figure out on your own. You know what? If I'm stranded here, how can I ski this down? Or if I'm going to be out here, how can I light up a fire?
Yes.
That's something that you guys are, with the courses you're teaching, that you're showing all of that with the Algonquin College course that you have.
Absolutely. We'll show you how to light a fire, how to set up a tent, how to survive the night, how to find your way using maybe a topographic map, maybe using the stars. Yeah.
Sounds like the basic course in the military for sure.
Yeah, it is. It is a little bit. And, rewinding things back to the story of my dad and him starting the company, he's an ex-military guy.
Yeah.
So a lot of it does stem from his experience in the military. And he certainly acknowledges that as sort of one of his foundations for being successful in business is just, being organized and definitely that survival skill set and mentality. And so we're lucky to get to take, I mean, we've got military units coming out and doing specialized like water training with us, or coming out for R&R, but it's really important skill sets, even just for everyday life.
Yeah. I think also as a human too, like we do need to have that sort of hard thing to do every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
And then that actually just builds character. It builds sort of resilience in us. It opens up a whole other sort of experience in our brain that we're capable of doing this.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I want to dig into a little bit about the business aspect of it for you guys. How do you foresee the business in the next, 10, 15 years?
Sure. I think that our businesses close to the urban centers are like, that's where we've seen the most growth lately. And, it's hard to put your finger on it, but certainly since, I've been rafting, guiding rafts for going on maybe, 17 years now. And I've certainly seen a shift from, maybe a more urban-minded population. Like, it is harder to get people to leave the city.
Yeah.
So our location at Wilderness Tours, we're certainly not at the highs of our company in terms of visitor numbers. We've backed off those highs quite a bit, but we've seen a lot of steady growth, in Montreal, in Niagara Falls, even here in Ottawa, with some fun plans for expansion here in the city too. But, hopefully we'll be able to do stuff here in the urban centers where we get to rekindle that relationship of people with getting out of the city and, going to somewhere where you can see the night sky without light pollution, where you can, leave your cell phone behind, where you can.
It is by far the most thrilling and liberating experience to just say, you know what, like I'm just going to put this thing on the side for the rest of the day and not touch it.
No, I don't need this thing because everyone that I need to talk to is right here.
Exactly.
That's always such a great feeling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they can leave a message.
There you go.
If it's an emergency, they'll find me.
That's right.
But I got the most important people around me, and that's all that matters.
Yeah.
So when you guys opened up Montreal, what was the vision behind it?
The vision behind it, I suppose, because again, this is before my time, but the vision was simply to connect people with adventure, but right in an accessible place, right in downtown Montreal. I mean, that's really what it is. It was, taking what was successful at Wilderness Tours, that thrill, and getting closer to the people. And it turns out that there are some places like the Lachine Rapids in Montreal, like the Whirlpool Rapids in Niagara Falls, where you can, with very specialized watercraft and well-trained guides, take people out there and experience it and have them back on shore, an hour later.
And by all means, we're not advertising for anyone to try this on their own, by the way. Just
definitely
disclaimer, putting it out there for sure.
Yeah.
No, it's fantastic. I just want to kind of, this brings me back to, like, again, childhood memories, like out with the friends and like the high school. It's just so phenomenal. From a business perspective for you guys, tell me a little bit more about like what goes into the decision-making, day-to-day stuff.
Sure. Day-to-day, a lot of our operations are determined by, highly fluctuating reservation numbers, especially in the age of online reservations, which that's just a fact of life these days. So, some of our operational challenges day-to-day are, what do we think we're going to do in terms of passenger numbers this weekend, next week? Do we have enough guides? Do we have enough guides ready to go in case numbers do jump, which they often do? We'll get inundated with reservations on a Thursday or even a Friday afternoon, sometimes even a Saturday morning for our busy Saturdays. And so,
oh my goodness,
day to day, that, matching our labor with demand, that's a constant.
Especially now, like with the sort of, this obviously takes a specialized sort of guide to do it.
It does.
And with the advent of like not having enough workforce nowadays, it's been ridiculous. I don't know about you, but like,
no, you're absolutely correct. Yes, we didn't necessarily see everything coming, but the labor crunch we did have a bit of a foresight for. We started our hiring process a bunch of years ago, the year before next season. So like if we were in July or August of 2022, we'd already be recruiting for the next year. And we get to recruit from people who come and enjoy our tour, from students out of that Algonquin program.
Yeah.
And
That
You know,
program is like a feeder for you guys. For sure.
it is a feeder. Yeah, we get a lot of our best team from that. And so, yes, the labor issue is definitely a challenging thing from the business front. Luckily, it's fun being a river guide for the summer.
Oh, absolutely.
So we do attain the numbers we need of staff, but then of course it's always just like day-to-day juggling of making sure that as the reservations come in, that we have guides ready to go, that we have enough of them trained. Our peak times are always on the weekends, so you'd be surprised how many weekend warriors we get who are like Monday to Friday professionals here in the city, and they want to go rafting on Saturday. So they're coming to wilderness tours and they're jumping in the back of a raft and guiding for us.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I just want to talk a little bit more about the age group that you guys have as far as like your staff and what have you. What does that look like?
I would say that our average seasonal river staff are between the ages of 22 and 32. So sort of in that 20s. A lot of them will get started in their college and university days. They're looking for a summer job. Mm-hmm. What's better than spending the summer on the river? So we'll get a lot of our new staff that way, and we train in-house. We do like a pretty intense 10-day training program where it's just dawn to dusk on the river, multiple laps down the river, everything that you would need to know from navigating the rapids to guest interactions to the logistics to the safety. And then, our average staff will stay with us, I would say, between 3 to 5 years.
Pretty good.
No, it is. It's
really,
great.
really good. Yeah.
It's a genuine community. So people love that when they're working on our team. That community doesn't go away. Like we've got 50 years of river staff who still feel really connected to the place, which is special. In fact, we've got a 50th anniversary coming up next summer. We're hosting a big event right across Canada Day weekend. So we'll see a lot of them. And then, that our summer seasonal regular staff are generally in their 20s and early 30s. And then, as is natural, they might have different career aspirations that will take them elsewhere. But then we see the return, which is weekend warriors, which is amazing. I mean, we have people on our guide staff who have retired from their careers and come back and guide.
I don't blame them. I mean, that adrenaline rush is just so addictive.
It's the adrenaline rush. It's the human connection. You get to spend not just with your fellow guides, which is a lot of fun, but with the people you take. It's a real authentic experience, and you get to show people, a side of our country that a lot of people don't always get to see out there on the river through real rapids. And it is genuine connection that you make with people who, they might come back year after year and you see them again, or it could be a decade and they come back and they're like just as excited as when they left.
Now, you've touched base with the training. You guys talked about the safety.
Yeah.
What are safety measures for you guys in general?
Sure.
What does that look like? Tell me a little bit more about what you've been doing to implement that.
Sure. So when we're training our staff, learning the river first and foremost is like that's step number one. You need to understand the rapids. You need to understand how moving water works. It's remarkably predictable once you look at it long enough. And you're like, there's things you can identify, like that's an eddy. That's where the water's calm on the sides. There's the current. You can identify different waves in certain ways. Once you learn the river, we go down it. We do lap, 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 and we learn the different lines down the rapids. And there's a lot of ways down the river. You may or may not remember, but at wilderness tours, the Ottawa River goes through a maze of channels and islands. It's a lot like a ski hill of whitewater. So there's actually many different routes to memorize. Yeah.
You pick your journey.
There's many different routes to memorize. There's easy, there's medium, there's hard. We take 5-year-olds down this way. We take the military down this way. We take our regular clientele who are looking to have fun down this way. And so the guides need to memorize these lines. And then you throw in the extra complication of water levels change, which changes all the rapids. So there's a lot of just rinse and repeat of learning the lines. There is the customer service, guest interaction point of view of, you want to welcome your guests. You want to make them feel at home. You want to make them feel comfortable. You want to get to know their names. And as you take them down the journey of the river, you want to entertain them, you want to make sure they're having fun, you want to check in on their well-being. And then there's also the safety aspect. What do you do if someone falls out? It happens, especially on our higher intensity trips where honestly people are looking for that. They're like, hey, let's go big. We don't mind. That's what we're here for. So if someone falls out of the raft, what do you do? There is some common gear that all guides carry. One is a throw bag. It's a rope-filled bag. It's like the size of a football, and you throw it like a football. And that gives you sort of a 70-foot radius around you at all times, where if someone falls in the water, you're like Spider-Man. You're just like, boom, zing, gotcha, you're back in. And then it's also, the rafts actually operate like a big team as they go down the river. It's a very organized, regimented way to run a river trip, where it's like a board game where, like Chutes and Ladders, you mostly go in one direction, but you've got these eddies where you can cover the other rafts. And so like a game of leapfrog, you go down the river covering these other boats. It's a big team effort. That way, when I go down first, you're coming in quickly behind me. I'm going to catch a spot where I watch you as you come through a big wave. You'll continue. You'll catch the next safe spot. I'll come in behind you. And it's teamwork from start to finish.
Amazing. Let's just kind of take a step back a little bit. And I don't mean to put you on the spot, but from a safety perspective, have you guys ever had that situation where you're like, oh, what do we do now?
At this point, we've run 2 million people down the river over the last 50 years. We've certainly had medical issues. Like, we have a pretty detailed emergency action plan where, let's say we have someone has a medical here or there. We have extraction points. We have, close connections with our paramedic dispatch in Renfrew County, with our police, even with the military. So if something goes wrong, we're on top of it. It's moving towards where it needs to go, and it happens fast and smoothly, and the trip carries on. The guests who are having fun, you continue having fun. If we have a medical, we're dealing with it.
I mean, moving 2 million people down the river, that's over 50 years, it's not a small feat.
No, there is not.
Any boat that I would rather be on would be yours.
Well, if any of the listeners do come rafting, you can request me. I'll take you down myself.
Absolutely. Yeah. Is there anything that you want to do special for the listeners that are watching, like a promo or anything like that people try it out? Like, I would beg you to try it out.
Yes.
Honestly, it's like life-changing.
Yeah, it is. We've got some, this time of year going into the holidays, we've got gift certificates that are always great. You can hand out to people. If you've got crowds from the business community listening, like taking your team rafting,
it's a fantastic
is a great team building activity. We're having our 50th anniversary next year. It's we're going to be having fun on the river from early May to the end of September, and the more people who come and join, the more fun it is.
Wilderness Tours goes 50, guys. It's a big day, and honestly, if you're not gonna try it out, I don't know, man. Life is too short.
Yeah,
life is too short. Joel, really appreciate it, man. It's been fantastic. Again, brings back a ton of memories. I'm actually probably considering that 50th, depending on where I am in the year, but definitely really appreciate it. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
And there's so much to learn about the city. There's so many things out there. And for folks that are watching, if you like what you see, please don't forget to hit the like button and comment. Let us know as well if there's any business that you think of that could actually benefit from being on the show. I would personally myself reach out and invite them over. And if just don't forget to hit that little subscribe button as well too. And the bell icon will allow you to get notification with any new episodes that come out. Again, Joel, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Fatty. Perfect.